My husband, 34, and I, female 31, bought our first single-story house. A few weeks ago, we both put money towards it, and our names are on the title. Days ago, we hosted dinner for his family. My family lives in another state, and friends to celebrate this occasion, they brought gifts and took a tour around the house. We had an overall good time till dinner. My husband suddenly started telling the story of how much he sacrificed, how many extra jobs he took, and how many years he spent to save and buy this house, completely ignoring my role in it. I was confused. I kept staring at him as he went on about how he found the house and how much trouble he got into to get it. His family and friends looked impressed as he said, "My house. This my house," that I said, "Hold on," and told them that it's not just his house but our house because we both equally saved and contributed equally to purchase it. His mom asked if I was serious and I offered to show her the legal document. My husband looked at me shocked and got quiet while his friends and family kept looking at him. He then excused himself to the bathroom for 40 minutes. I had to say goodbye to the guests by myself. He later blew up asking what the heck I just did. I said he shouldn't have lied to them in the first place. He asked, "What could you have possibly gained by saying what you said? What could you have possibly lost if you did? Do you ever think before you speak?" I got mad and replied that he was dismissing my role in buying the house and I didn't like that. He was like, "Oh, so you decided to humiliate me in front of my family and friends to appear important, pretentious much." I found this insulting, but he argued that I messed up and ruined his joy in the new home when I could have avoided it. Finally, I got tired of arguing, so I went to sleep. He has gone radio silent the next day and he has been acting upset for days. Now LOL, he practiced this speech in the bathroom for 40 minutes and that's the best he could come up with. Not the idiot opus and find yourself a good divorce lawyer by his mother's answer. I can't imagine what other lies he's told her about the house or anything else. He lied flat out to make himself look more important. He's massively projecting because he's the one who was being pretentious. This is not a good look for him. Also, he's going on the best defense is a good offense tack because he has to know he's wrong and is hoping that by blowing up at you then giving you the cold shoulder, you'll just shut up about it and take the blame for his behavior. All in all, this is disturbing. This behavior is manipulative and could get into abusive territory. Now that he thinks he had nailed down buying a house together, he seems to have a very skewed idea of your marriage, owning a house and both your contributions to it. Does he think your part of the money just appeared out of thin air, or does he think what's mine is mine? What's yours is also mine, so I contributed everything. Definitely a red flag. I will look further into his behavior and decide if this is something you want to live with your whole life. Exactly, but it sounds like there's something fishy about the way he may be describing your marriage situation to his family. Is there a cultural issue here? Is he supposed to be the breadwinner who alone provides for his entire family? Just you in this situation. Why was it so important to your spouse to make everyone think you hadn't contributed? He wanted to act like the big man in his family without even asking you if P minded him taking all the credit and assumed she would sit there quietly like a good little wife. Fun fact, buying a house with another person is a bigger commitment and a bigger deal than getting married compared to splitting a house. Divorce is easy. Your husband is a liar, trying to discredit you. If it really was something innocent, he would have agreed and not gone to hide in the bathroom for 40 minutes to pout. Story 2. Our son Tween is a very picky eater. There are a few foods that he likes to eat such as pizza, chicken, steak, and pasta. He is working with someone that is helping him try new foods. My wife, 41, wishes he wasn't picky, but I, 42 male, don't see any problems. There have been concerns from family members that my son was underweight in the past. My son is at a good weight. According to his doctor, we went to my in-laws for a St. Patrick's party. I brought a small dish of mac and cheese for my son to have for dinner as he didn't want the corned beef. I noticed my wife and her mother looking at son and having a private conversation when it was time for dinner. I put my son's meal on his plate and my wife grabbed the plate. She threw the food into the trash and put some corned beef and cabbage on the plate. Son starts to get upset and pushes the plate away. I looked at my wife and said, "Are you serious?" He didn't want any of the corned beef, which is why I brought the mac and cheese. She looks back at me with a smile and said, "Well, he needs to try new things and he might like the corned beef." Son whispers to me that he felt sick and wanted to go home. I told my wife that we were leaving and would see her at home. Her sister dropped her off at the house and she came storming inside screaming at me that I was the one at fault for not wanting our son to try new food. We aren't speaking to one another right now and I've been receiving unpleasant texts from her family. Am I the idiot for leaving without my wife after she tried making my son eat the food? He didn't want not the idiot here. A family dinner like this isn't the time to try and therapize your child's eating issue from the sounds of it. You made a minimal amount of fuss while still including your son and your family's activities. Your wife is the idiot here without a doubt. What she's done will only make your son's issue harder to deal with and she deserves shame and ridicule for it. Agree. My dad won't eat so many foods, especially cheese. Someone made him eat it as a kid and he just couldn't stomach it. He never forced me to eat anything. And now there are very few things that I won't eat. I was a little picky as a kid, but everyone thankfully let me try things at my own pace. Now, I work with kids who often have food issues, and I can guarantee that forcing them and humiliating them in front of family members won't help. Given all the whispering between wife and her mom before eating, I bet that her family and possibly wife think that son is just a picky eater and should have to eat what's served, not be allowed any option. And that smile gave me the creeps. Wife got what was coming to her, and OP is not the idiot. I can see that smile in my head. Unfortunately, it's the same all around the world. So what are you going to do about it? We're in public around other people. You surely won't stand up for yourself or our son with other people around and embarrass me. Smile. That smile has caused so many lasting issues because so many people have felt trapped by it. Afraid to rock the boat or make a scene good for you. OP, I'm so glad your son has you to protect him in this way. Story 3. The matriarch of our family. My grandmother has multiple iconic meals, not unique that her family stable, including her apple strudels. My brother Ben, 27, has been dating Jess, female 26, for nearly 4 years. But she's only met my grandmother once. Ben and Jess got engaged last November, and they'd seen most of us individually or in small groups, but not as one big family. A few days before this dinner, Jess came over to drop some flowers off for my mom. And we got to talking. She mentioned that she was planning on making an apple strudel to bring over for dessert. I told her my grandmother would make one since she always makes them for any event. She already knew this. She, what I perceived as a joke, said something along the lines of it'll be a fun little competition of whose is better and we have to keep the tradition alive. I laughed it off and made a joke about how no one could beat my grandmother. But the conversation ended on a friendly note. I didn't think she was serious. Plot twist. She was the family dinners rolled around and she rocks up with said dessert. She hands it over to me to put in the kitchen and I'm like, TF, my other brother who was in the kitchen also thought it was weird and low-key disrespectful. She comes in to get a glass of water and I ask why she brought this dessert. She repeats the above reasons. I asked if she'd asked my grandmother or mom if they wanted to do this little competition. And she was like, no, why would I, since it had to be heated up? I told her I'd ask my mom first since I didn't think this competition was a good idea. She asked if I was the apple stress police and I told her I'd put it in the fridge so it stayed fresh and she could take it with her when they leave. She got angry and it was this back and forth of me and my brother saying this competition idea was rude and her not getting why it was bad. And then said, your grandmother's not opera, she doesn't control apple strudels, and mine's probably better. Anyway, my brother and I were low-key, shocked and angry because maybe it's just our family, but you don't disrespect the matriarch. I grabbed the spoon open to the bin and scooped it all out. She started crying, which drew my brother, her fiancé, and they left once my brother and I explained most agreed with me about her bringing the dessert and competition idea. But my brother has blacklisted me and my brother from the wedding and 2 cousins who also took my side. So am I the idiot? It must be lovely to be able to throw food away like that. Secondly, maybe she's trying to be a part of the family. A lovely way to spoil relationships. She's a guest and she brought a dessert. You didn't need to eat it, but you had no right to throw it out and your mom was right. You're acting like the apple strudel police. In case you don't get it, you are the idiot. Disagree. It's everyone's the idiot here. She shouldn't have pushed so hard against everyone telling her this was a distasteful move. Especially after you told her not to bring that in the first place. That being said, leaving it in the fridge for her to take home afterward was a perfectly viable suggestion that was already on the table. Shoveling hers into the garbage so nobody could have it at all because she did something crappy is also a crappy move. That's like being the kid who breaks your friend's game because you told them you already had one plans for game night. The fiancé repeatedly joked about a competition and brought the dish after she was told that grandma always makes it. Do you honestly think that the fiancé wouldn't have brought out the pie anyway? Based on what told her twice. Once before the dinner and when she brought the pie that grandma's making the apple pie the first time. She completely ignored OP and did it anyway. The second time at dinner, she argued with P, who feels any desire to compete with an older woman, even if OP was a bit rude to throw it out. This lady was a huge idiot for bringing the apple strudels over under these circumstances. OP is not the idiot. Story 4. My brother-in-law was adopted. He came from a broken home and it affected his personality. He always wanted and planned to have kids with his ex, but she turned out abusive and he was barely able to escape from her with my and my husband's help. He was devastated and kept saying his future and family ended before it was started. But we assured him he was lucky he didn't have kids with his ex and got out easily. He's now 35, single and lives alone and has been talking about adopting a lot lately. Yesterday, he visited and brought it up again. I didn't feel he was ready despite him saying that he was. I told him that he's a product of an affair that ruined 2 families and that he had a rough, unstable childhood that created some serious damage manifesting and a number of mental health issues that he hasn't worked on. So I don't think adoption is a good idea, especially given his feelings, and he should reconsider his decision. He looked at me shocked, but I told him not to take it personally because I was just pointing out that it's not fair to subject an innocent child to his mental health issues. In other words, I just don't think he's ready to be anybody's dad. He became quiet all of a sudden. Then he took his phone and key and said that I was rude and hurtful, then left and shut the door behind him. My husband asked what happens and why his brother left. I told him about the conversation I had with him, and he went off on me saying I messed up and that this was none of my concern and I just made his brother feel worthless and incapable. I said no, I was just making sure he was ready. But he said, I don't get to decide if he's ready or not, and told me I had to call his brother and apologize to him for the rude crap. I said I declined because I don't think I was wrong for telling the truth as it is. We had an argument and he isn't speaking to me. Now, I understand how my brother-in-law might have felt, but I was just giving my opinion on this matter and a bit of advice. So am I the idiot? Wow, just wow. Is this your first day on earth? Of course, that unsolicited advice would set him off. I'm assuming that you're not a social worker or therapist. But even if you are, it was not your place to tell this guy that his family of origin issues has made him too broken to parent effectively. What you said was cruel and you don't have the relationship with him to make or share your unfair judgment of him. If I was your husband, I'd be seriously reevaluating our relationship. I cannot understand how you felt justified in saying what you did. This was peak narcissistic behavior, oblivious to the needs of the moment and the role you play in it. Holy cow, you are the idiot. You are the idiot. There's being honest and then there's being cruel. You fall on the latter and are remorseless because you think you know it all, even if he has issues. What you said was worded wrong and incredibly hurtful. Maybe he needs therapy to help in this process, but it's not up to you to act superior and throw his past in his face. I told him he's a product of an affair that ruined 2 families. Geez, if anything, his birth parents' actions ruined 2 families, not him. He had no control over being born. You sound really judgmental and you are using the excuse of being honest for acting like an idiot. Have a little tact and be better. You can talk about his childhood all you want, but it's clear someone raised you wrong too. It seems like everyone is skipping over the fact that OP says he has unresolved mental health issues. You are not the idiot. You're making sure an adopted child's future is good by ensuring your brother-in-law is in the right mind. Brother-in-law is not fit to care for a child at the moment. There are many steps taken to make sure a parent can take care of a child during adoption. No need to have his high hopes for it. Story 5. Some quick background. My middle brother is getting married in July. It's a destination wedding that will require my partner and me to spend a good deal of money to get there, along with accommodations, food, etc. during the trip. This is not a problem as I really want to attend my brother's wedding and I haven't seen most of my family in years. About a week ago, my dad texted me to ask how much money I'm giving to my brother and his bride for their wedding gift. My dad has always been sketchy with money, but I felt comfortable answering this question and I told him I would only match half of what my younger brother is giving him, which would be $300 for me because I'm spending more money and I have to make more arrangements to attend the destination wedding. Right after I mentioned this, my dad started to hound me over text asking if I could give my brother and his fiancée the gift sooner rather than later, as in now. So I told my father I would be giving them the money in an envelope on their wedding day. My father proceeds to tell me that they're hurting for funds to pay for the wedding, which is set to cost $25,000, and they need my $300 or the wedding might have to be postponed. I didn't have much of a response to that, so we ended the conversation there every morning. Since that conversation, my dad sends me text and tries to contact me over the phone and continues to tell me that unless I send my gift over, the wedding will have to be postponed indefinitely. I think it's good that I didn't buy my plane tickets yet because things in my family always get shifted around at the last minute. I told him politely to let me be and that I had made up my mind and that they probably shouldn't have this expensive wedding if they need my gift that much. I told him I was getting off as I needed to get ready for work, and he called me selfish and asked how I could do this to my brother. Am I the idiot for not wanting to give my brother his wedding money and possibly causing his wedding to be moved? OP, you should probably call your brother and get the real story. Sounds like your dad's cooking up a porky with $300. Stop a $25,000 wedding. Methinks not. And if it's true, they should have a cheaper wedding. $25,000 P has to buy tickets, food, and pay for accommodation. Are they insane? Something sounds really off. And I can't figure out what. However, I agree with you. Your brother and his fiancée have no business having destination weddings when they couldn't afford it in the first place. Too bad for them and too bad if they have to postpone it. They can go get married at the JP office either way. Their financial problems are not yours. Ask for your dad. Tell him your brother can fight his own battles. Why does he have daddy constantly harass you? What is going on? God, dad is lying. $300 is not going to make or break a 25 Kelvin wedding. Tell him you're done talking to him about this. Block him if you need to. If your brother really needs your gifts early, he can ask himself though. You're still not obligated to give it based on your family description. I wouldn't be surprised if the whole thing was a money grab and nobody actually gets married.